Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to do a retro game room tour. This is obviously my part of the base. Remember, all my retro gaming is done, and this place, even though on first look, if you guys have watched my channel for a long time, and you look at it on a real quick overview of the room, you're like, I don't think a lot of things change, but when you actually start paying attention, you're like, wait a second, that changed, that changed, that changed, and that's kind of what the theme is for this year. At first look, you may not notice some of the changes except for like this big wall here to the right, but there's actually a lot of changes that happened this year over the course of the last year that actually made this room so much better, and it is now in a great place, in my opinion, to exactly what I always wanted this room to be. I wanted to walk into this room and feel the nostalgia, whether it be for gaming, for toys, for Nickelodeon, for 3D gaming or 3D stuff, whatever the case may be, board games that are retro. All of that stuff is kind of living in this room, and that's exactly what I wanted this game room to, or this part of the room, to always feel like, and I think it's finally in that place. So, I'm really excited to showcase this room to you guys, so let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, as usual, we're going to try to do a really quick overview just to show you guys before we start getting into detail on this stuff of a lot of the changes. Even though at first look you may not notice some of these changes, there is actually a lot to talk about of a lot of things that actually changed in this room. Now, with everything being shown here like I just showed you here, let's go ahead and start off in the left corner of exactly what changed in the retro PC corner. So again, this room is all about retro something, whether it be retro toys, retro gaming, whatever the case may be. I would say 95% of this room is exactly for that, with the exception of one or two items in here that may not fit that bill, which we'll talk about later on in this video. But for the most part, that's what this whole room is about. That's why it's called the retro game room. So in this corner, we of course have our retro PC. And as far as what changed, is one of the main hardware things that I obviously had to change out is unfortunately the Alienware PC that kind of lived down here. It was a retro gaming PC from Alienware from back in the 2000s that just always gave me an issue even when I first bought it. I would take like 15 minutes to turn that thing on. It was super annoying. I had to play with the CMOS battery, play with the power until it finally decided to kick on. Obviously it was old, couldn't figure out what was wrong with it no matter what. So I finally just gave up on it after like 2 years of struggling like that back and forth, and just got a proper Windows XP machine that is just as powerful. Swapped the graphics card out of the Alienware because that was working fine. And now we have a Windows XP machine that is plugged in right there. And then I still have my Windows 98, as you can see in the MS-DOS sitting right there. So that's for Windows 98 and DOS, and that's my Windows XP machine. Yes, this PC case may not look as cool, but all the parts in it are brand new, just like a brand new PC from the 90s and 2000s. So it will last me a very long time, which is awesome. I still have other Alienware PCs. They're just not like from that era. Like there's an Alienware PC right there. There's an Alienware PC sitting in my Polycade actually. So I have a couple of Alienwares. They're just not, old school. They're a little bit like, more current, obviously. But regardless, I'd rather have a PC that works, and those Alienware PCs are now getting more expensive, and they're all old parts, and God knows how long that would have lasted if I just got another one. So that's the first thing that changed here. The rest of this kind of stayed the same. I did a little bit of cleanup in some areas and stuff like that. Like my speakers are now both plugged into smart switches, so I can easily rotate between these Cambridge speakers when I'm playing Windows 98 or the XP machine, depending on my mood. Or if I want to use the Logitech Z5500s, then I have those right here. And I mounted this is new. I mounted these above me, kind of routed the cables as nicely as possible, so they're always ready to go, and I don't have to worry about them being on the floor like they used to be. And they're always just above my head on the gaming chair and in surround sound when I'm playing surround sound compatible games on the XP machine, which is awesome. So, and I have those on smart switches, so I can just roll back and forth depending on what speakers I want to use, no matter what PC they're on, which is awesome. Obviously, the CRT TV is for both of these, and I have like a switch that controls which PC is on there, which is awesome. The only thing I added is I got rid of a couple of the girl posters. Remember, this is supposed to be like if I'm living back in the 90s and 2000s PC gaming, and what I remember having on the wall, not just posters, not just the games that you see here, but also I used to clip like magazines and stuff for my favorite like girls of the 90s and stuff. Don't mind that cable, that's going to be fixed at some point. Oh, and this thing is falling. But you know, one of the other things that I always had is like these posters of like girls from like clippings from like J14 and stuff like that. I used to have two right here. I got rid of them. Instead, I added this board that I got an idea from on Reddit and stuff, which I thought was a great idea, which is just basically clipping like codes and stuff like that, like you can see from Duke Nukem and Quake and Doom, and just clipping like maps from different games and even PC Gamer magazine sitting over here, whatever the case may be, writing a bunch of different quotes from my favorite games that fits like the 90s and 2000s era better than just having. So I kept a few of the posters there on the right, but I added this little clipboard here that kind of goes with the vibe of the 90s and 2000s PC gaming. And then I also added the solutions and cheats to the hottest PC gaming book, one of the popular books from back then that has a bunch of different cheat codes from a bunch of different games. Still has the included floppy disk in there as well, which is pretty cool. As you can see back there, that has even more codes on it. So this is super cool to add to the area as well. I did add a few more games to this. PC Gaming Magazine, I added some CDs and stuff like that because I added some magazines here to the left of me that I never had before. Added some SpongeBob games, but just a few games added to the collection. But the vibe of this is very much the same besides what I just talked about with the keyboard and mouse and all my goodies that I have on here, like the iPod that I still use and the iPack sitting right there, the Sidewinder controllers and Logitech and Creative headphones and CD players and Vectrex and all that stuff that's still here, like the Virtual Boy. So really happy with this space and where it's at. And now that I can actually come down here and play Windows XP without struggling with the PC working half the time, I'm much happier coming down here. Now, when it comes to these retro shelves here that we have here, nothing here has changed at all over the last year. There's been a few games that have been added to the shelves, but for the most part, it's all pretty much like, you know, the same. There hasn't been anything crazy done. So I won't spend too much time on this because obviously all of this is kind of the same. Like I said, I have a bunch of different retro games from all my favorite different systems. Of course, I did add, one of the things I did add is this remote control, so I can go ahead and power this. They're rechargeable, and I can go ahead and turn this to whatever color I want. You can see on and off right now. I just turned that on, and there's one on each one here, which is awesome. And you can see I have one here on the Pikachu shelf as well. I still need to add two more for the other shelves here, but I have yellow for the Pikachu shelf, which is pretty cool. And then I'm gonna add a green one for down here, and then another one for over here as well. But right now the top one is red, the middle one is yellow, and they both turn off with just one button, which is pretty cool. I added that to all the shelves. And again, nothing crazy new, but this is all my stuff and all my collectibles from back then. I'll give you guys a close-up of the shelves, of course. As you can see, really, really awesome. There you go, with all the different games, PlayStation, N64, all of them sitting right there. I usually put the games that I highlight, like either are my favorite or just rare or expensive, or kind of usually sitting in the front, being like, you know, shown off, I guess, if you want to say it that way. Of course, we got the Dreamcast games over here. Really good selection of Dreamcast games. Some of the Amigo, Jedi, Rush, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Power Stone 1 and 2, Tech Romancer, really heavy hitters on here. Bangai, Heavy Metal, Cannon Spike, Sonic Adventure, really solid set of games over here. GameCube is also in a really good position. GameCube games have skyrocketed in price. Disney Sports Basketball is sitting there. It's a really rare and expensive game. All the heavy hitters from the GameCube that you would want are all here. The Pokemon games, the Zelda games, the Mario games, all here for the most part. And then this is my Game Boy shelf. Pokemon trading card game sitting right there. And we got Game Boy Advance, all the different variations there, Game Boy Color. I try to collect one of my favorite systems and one like special edition of each of those systems, depending on what I'm looking at. So like, for example, the Game Boy Micro with the Famicom edition and this NES version of the Game Boy Advance and stuff. So I always like doing that. Tommy Hilfiger one sitting back there. Just a bunch of games from the Game Boy are sitting back there, and Game Boy Advance, they're all sitting there. And then the next shelf is all my DS stuff. You got Donkey Kong Journey, Zombie Barbecue, Bomberman Land 2, Metro Hunters. Got my 2DS sitting there, my 3DSs sitting right there, Smash Brothers and Zelda sitting there. The 2DS Super Mario 25th Anniversary Edition, the DS Lite sitting right there, the original. All my 3DS games sitting back there as well. Then we got my PlayStation Vita shelf and PSP. You got the two PSPs, the God of War edition sitting right there. You got the Vita OLED edition sitting right there, and the 2000 Slim edition sitting right there. You got the PSP, the split screen one, which is freaking awesome, sitting back there. the digital edition, and then you got some UMDs sitting back there, some PSP games, highlights like Power Stone Collection, Persona, Grand Theft Auto, China Wars, the Vice City Stories, Musuma for the Vita, Ratchet and Clank, Freedom Wars, just a bunch of solid set of games on there. And then we got the Wii sitting back here as well with a bunch of great games like Crossbow Training, Excitebots, the Galaxy 1 and 2, Donkey Kong Journey, the Metroid Prime Collector's Edition. So a bunch of amiibos and stuff that I have on there. And then again, we have another one of these shelves, again with these lights on here as well. So if I go ahead and take this remote and turn this back on, you can see that this shelf is blue. And you can see I have two, which I again have to change out and add two more to the middle shelves because I only have one on one shelf and one on the other. And they work great for each of the shelves, and they're rechargeable, so I never have to worry about, getting batteries for them, and they last about 10 hours on. But I have to add two more to each shelf because you definitely need one for each shelf. It's not really great for just skipping a shelf if you really wanted to showcase what's on the shelf. But this is my Sega. You see it up there. Got the Sonic shelf there first. Then we got the Genesis shelf. Again, none of this stuff is new. That's why I'm not spending a whole lot of time on it, because it's been in part of my other videos, because all these sections have pretty much stayed the same. We got my PlayStation heavy hitters like Def Jam Fight New York, Silent Hill 3, God of War, Spyro, Persona 4, Ratchet and Clank games, Amplitude, the Jack games, so really good games there. Got the Guy game on the original Xbox, Star Wars Battlefront, Halo 1 and 2, of course, Conker's Reloaded, Outrun Coast to Coast, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Stub Zombies. So really great selection of games there. And then some strategy guides and art books sitting down there. And this, I know probably doesn't look like it, but this used to be a disaster before. In my previous videos, I finally got it, to be a lot more organized than what it was before, I guess you can say. And have everything labeled with all the controllers. So anything that I'm playing on the retro TV and stuff are all kind of sitting right here. Anything on this shelf are in here, whether it's the drums or keyboards for the Dreamcast, whatever the case may be. Much more organized, a lot easier to get to things. My Rock Band stuff is back there when I want to get access to it. And then, of course, this is my retro area. With the TV, I have a nice Triniton, a Sony Triniton TV here that I play most of my games on. As you can see, I have all of these consoles right here. We have the Game Room LED sign. We have these as well, which are pretty fun to use. I do that, which is really fun. We got the Sony 3D TV where I play my PlayStation modded PlayStation that I have right there, and I have games on there that are either 3D that are ready to go on the 3D TV, or maybe some Japanese or games that are impossible to find that I'm never going to own that are kind of on that modded PlayStation 3. And then down below we have a modded original Crystal Xbox. We have a modded 360 as well. The modded 360 is for all Japanese exclusives and games that are, again, hard to find, or sometimes games that I want to do LAN play on, because I do have LAN parties in this house sometimes, and it's been a while. So the original Xbox and the 360 are two of the consoles that were used for LAN, which is why there's going to be multiple Xboxes that you're going to see that are modded or not modded, because those are all ready to go for LAN parties. You see all the systems there. You got the Pikachu edition. Yes, I know the cords are crazy right now with all the controllers and stuff because I was playing. But we got the 3DO, we got an Atari back there, we got a ColecoVision, Intellivision, Sega CD, all the good ones. My original Super Nintendo from when I was a kid, the N64, Sega Genesis, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. Everything is pretty much here that I really want. The GameCube is there. The only one that I always think about getting that I haven't gotten yet is the TurboGrafx. That's one that I'm probably want to add to the collection at some point that I don't own. And then, of course, we have some Zelda stuff back there. We also have my VHS collection, because I do have a VHS/DVD player right there that I do watch VHS on this one, and I watch DVDs on this one. And you can see back here, we got some great VHS games sitting right here. Or, sorry, VHS tapes, like some from Franklin that I used to watch as a kid. We got the Star Wars VHS tape. We got Pokemon sitting right there, the Pokemon movies. I do have more VHSs scattered in the 90s area that you guys will see afterwards. Got a Mary Kate and Ashley section, and just a bunch of other great movies from back there as well. And then sitting right next to that, of course, we have these two chairs. These are connected. These are X-Rocker chairs, so they have 2.1 surround sound that are plugged in. No matter what you're playing on either of these TVs, you can either have one chair on or both, and they'll do the same sound. Or if you're playing separate games, then one chair can go to that TV, and one chair can go to that. It's whatever you want at that point, which is great. And then we have this PC here. This controls my retro, sorry, not my retro, my racing build here, my racing arcade build. I did a lot of videos on this recently. Actually, just one yesterday. This went through a lot of upgrades this year. This is obviously themed to Mario Kart, so it kind of fits the vibe of this room because it's Mario Kart themed, but it's obviously not just Mario Kart. This is a full PC that plays all the racers from modern to retro, as you guys are seeing here. And you can scroll through and play whatever you want. This is on the Technopirate wheel right now and has all of these different games that you can play on here. And then I added a digital marquee to it that Buy Stuff Arcades just came out with it. I did a full video on yesterday that really showcases this thing, which is awesome to finally have a digital marquee so it actually shows the games that I'm playing. I'm like loving digital marquees these days. And yeah, this is awesome to be able to basically have this all across. And obviously, you know, of course I have the marquee for the actual game that, you know, this is designed around, which is of course Mario Kart, which you could put up there just like that, and then it kind of still matches the vibe of Mario Kart, which is awesome. But yeah, that digital marquee is great. Added a 4K screen to this as well, up from 1080p. Added a 4K monitor, which really elevated playing a lot of these games to make it look that much better than it used to, which is obviously awesome. Still got the same Logitech wheel and stuff like that, and this thing here, but loving this thing now with 4K, now with the digital marquee, really elevated that experience. Now, when it comes to this area over here, again, we still have the same thing over here. If you turn these on, I have these all set to green because this is the Xbox side. Of course, I have one on top and one on bottom, as you can see here, on how that looks. And this is my Xbox shelf. If we turn these off here, you can see that this is my Gears of War shelf, my Halo shelf, my Rockstar shrine, because I love Rockstar and a bunch of their games that you have on there. Let me see if I can shine the light a little bit better on that. There you go. To see a lot of it in there. Got the Red Dead Redemption dominoes and just a bunch of different collectibles from them, which is awesome. And then a bunch of different Xbox collectibles here at the bottom, including the original launch day 360 faceplate. So really cool stuff there. And then we got the Halo for my favorite Xbox game, and then we got Last of Us, my favorite PlayStation game, kind of side by side. And this TV here kind of houses, I mean, the main purpose of this TV is technically for 3D. This is the LG 4K OLED 3D TV, the last 3D TV that came out. Really fantastic TV because it is 4K, because it is OLED, but more importantly because it's 3D, and it's one of the last 3D TVs out there that use these passive glasses. And as you can see here, I just really love 3D movies, okay? Yeah, so got my 3D collection right there. I still like burn some 3D movies from the 3D movies that, you know, are released online but don't get actual physical releases. When there's physical releases, obviously I buy them and then they get added. When there's not, I make my own copy and put them in that little binder right there, and then I could still play them on this 3D TV, which is awesome. And the only thing that rivals this 3D TV is the Apple Vision Pro. Watching 3D movies on the Apple Vision Pro is obviously better than this by a little bit, but no TV better to watch in your house with other people with these glasses, or playing PlayStation, for example, with the 3D games, or Xbox that came out back in the day. There's no better TV to do that with than this one that released. And obviously the other thing I use this for is for everything else that's a little bit more modern that deserves to be on more of a 4K TV, even if these consoles are not 4K themselves. Things like the Spider-Man Edition PlayStation 3 that's sitting, or PlayStation 4 that's sitting there, PlayStation 3 Final Fantasy Edition, you got another GameCube there, Star Wars 360, another PlayStation 2. The GameCube is actually connected with component cables to this TV as well, which is awesome. So it's using that like expensive component cable that's really hard to find. Got the Dreamcast sitting over here, the Black Sports Edition. You got the Blu-ray player for the movies, and another modded Xbox, but this is the big daddy of them all. This has a 2 terabyte with all the different games on it that I play, and all the different systems, and a bunch of different wacky mods and stuff like that for those games. If you guys want to see a specific video on that, let me know, because there's a lot of stuff on there and it's really cool and a lot of fun to play with. Even if I own those games, it's fun to have all of that on one system ready to go with a 2 terabyte drive. So I love that thing. And then over here we have the PlayStation shelf. So of course this should be blue. I don't know what happened to that top one, that it switched from that, but we'll put that right to blue here real quick, just like that. And the top shelf here is all about PlayStation, as you can see here. You got everything here from Naughty Dog on the top there, which is awesome. You got a God of War shelf. You got a the Kingdom Hearts shelf. Love Kingdom Hearts as a huge Disney fan, and then a bunch of random collectibles there. Again, I need to add another light there at the bottom, and one over here. You can tell which lights are on the first and the third one, because the rest of them definitely need more lights. but they're set like that for now. And then right here, I got a bunch of Disney Infinity stuff from my figures because I still love playing Disney Infinity, especially Marvel Battlegrounds and the Takeover Racing one. Those are still super fun to play to this day. Marvel Battlegrounds is like a Power Stone version using Disney Infinity characters, so I love playing that on the 360. And then here I have everything that works with all of these controllers, including all the classics that use like consoles that you see up top. I have all of that stuff right there. So you got the Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation accessories, depending on what system I actually play. All the controllers that go with these consoles are sitting right there. So really awesome. And then I got a little poster for that. Got the 3D section over there with the 3D glasses ready to go. And then behind me is another X-Rocker chair. This is a 5.1 surround sound, or 4.1, I don't remember. That works with this TV wirelessly and gets better sound than, of course, a TV can obviously offer you. Now, before we miss the middle part of this room, before we continue down the wall here, this is another thing that got a huge upgrade this year. This is the Super Chex machine. This thing broke on me. Did a whole video on it explaining it. After owning it, you know, the motherboard kind of died out. They didn't have a motherboard replacement, so I had to use their new motherboard, which means I had to replace pretty much a lot of the things in here because they now run a LCD screen on it as opposed to what they were using before. So now the game has gotten a lot better. I can do custom sounds now, which I did a full video on this if you guys want to check it out. I've been doing a bunch of mods. I upgraded the goals now, so these goals are not what come with the game, but they look real. Got the little Gatorade and the NHL sign, so I did a whole video on the mods I've been doing with this thing. Just had to replace all the freaking players for the Rangers because one of them was broken and they don't sell them individually, which is ridiculous. But at least I got to switch the Rangers to the white jerseys, which is now what their away jerseys are. Again, custom sounds. The machine is way better than it was before. I even added these rafters here as one of the mods, which is cool, that showcase all the Devils players that have retired and all the conference wins and Stanley Cup wins that we have and stuff. So yes, it's a way better machine, and I did a full video on it, but it still sucks that I had to spend all that money to get this fixed because the motherboard was no longer being made. But anyway, it is done, and that was a huge upgrade and a much better machine now brought into, you know, what they're currently doing with this machine. And I love the Super Chex machine. This is my Arcade 1-Up Miss Pac-Man cocktail machine. This has like a pie running inside. I've had this like for a very long time now. It runs all the cocktail games that you could play like on side to side, like Donkey Kong, like all the Miss Pac-Man and all those games that you can play on here. Again, running a pie inside. Nothing else going on with this machine. I've had this for a very long time. Along with this Pong machine, this Atari Pong pub machine is something that a lot of people like, that even though I had it for a while, it gets a lot of use when people come over. People love playing like Warlords with 4 players with the 4 spinners that are on here. I haven't had any issues with this machine. I didn't do anything to this machine either, no mods or anything. Love playing 4-player Pong and Warlords on this machine with 4 players, standing up playing it. It's super fun. Yes, of course, I wish the screen was a little bit bigger, but regardless, it's big enough and it works, and it's super fun to play with 4 players. And continuing across the middle of the room here is this machine here. This is the X Arcade that I've done a lot of videos on, that you can either use this arcade stick to play any of those consoles if you have the required adapters that you want to use, like for fighting games and stuff, or arcade style games that are either on the 360, Xbox, PlayStation 2, all that stuff. Same thing X Arcade has always done. But the reason that this is down here that makes it even better is that you can use this for VR as well. And I use this with my Quest 3 and play VR pinball, and I can also play an arcade game where you can actually feel like you're in an arcade playing all these different ROMs and stuff. I did a full video on that as well, and I still do videos on this thing because this thing is super fun, super awesome, and they're adding new stuff to it that is going to be awesome with haptic feedback support that you're going to be able to play pinball with, which is even better. And then in the center of that is my DDR pad. I connect this to Stepmania with the PC that's sitting right there in front of it that connects to this TV. And then I can play any DDR song ever made along with this fantastic pad from, I think it's Altec is what this company was. And it plays super, super well, really high quality mat. I think it was like $300 or something back when I got it a couple of years ago. So awesome to be able to play DDR anytime I want with Stepmania. This houses a bunch of different random accessories there in those bins and stuff like that. And then the Infinity game table, 32 inches still sitting here. It's here because it still has a lot of retro vibes to it, because a lot of the games on there are from like Hasbro from back in the day, like Game of Life, like Risk and stuff like that. So it has the classic board games all on here, so it definitely fit this room the best. And then I have like a little sofa couch area here with the Donkey Kong, you know, blanket sitting on top of it, but really comfortable beanbag chair that we have here from Yogobo, which is the name of the company, and you can just play some of those games on the Infinity game table, which is awesome. But that's the center of the room. So if we go back to where we were before, obviously, this is my Xbox and you know, a little bit more current gen side of the room. This is the 360 shelf. Again, nothing here has really changed. Down here, we got some real standouts like Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. I think a few games did get added from the last video. NFL Blitz to Legends 2, Wartech, Blur, and Split Second. Fantastic games. And then we got the PlayStation shelf here. Best of PlayStation Network. That's a really rare and expensive game. Journey, Mortal Storm Apocalypse. Wii Sports from the Wii U, Nintendo Land, and Zelda are sitting right here, which is awesome. And then we got a Xbox/PlayStation 4. I got all my games digital when this kind of started, so I don't really have a lot of games, but Deadpool is sitting right here, Spider-Man. Some of the games that are no longer available on the store are kind of sitting over here just in case. And then my Switch collection, along with the Switch 2 that started, which is Mario Kart World, sitting right here, because I don't have another shelf to do the Switch right now, and I don't really have a lot of physical games for the Switch anyway, for the Switch 2 that is. So most of these are all just Switch 1, and you know, the Switch 2 being basically the same size case will make it easy to just kind of incorporate into here, but that's what kind of lives on here. These shelves just have a bunch of random cables and board game cards and stuff like that, and just things that I need, nothing special there. We got the Playdate sitting right here. That's always charged up and ready to go. Love that thing. We got some retro handheld sitting right here, as you can see, which is really awesome. And you can see my Game Boy sitting right here from Analog Pocket that I have, which is an awesome way to play your Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. So that's awesome. And then we got this Pong. That's only here because I didn't know what else to put on the shelf. But that's there. And then we got on the top of the shelf, we got like a VR section for the original PlayStation VR, which at this point to me is retro. We got the Kinect, which is definitely retro there with the poster. And then I Feel Flappy, which is my iPad and iPod Touch that are kind of frozen in time to the era that actually has Flappy Bird and Flight Control and all those other games that we remember from back in the day that you wanted to play that you can't install anymore. They're on this machine now, which is awesome, kind of frozen in time. And then over here starts like my 3D obsession again, which is the NVIDIA 3D Vision. So I don't know how many of you guys remember NVIDIA 3D Vision, but that's how 3D gaming started for me. So I have a PC that I've done a lot of videos on that's right down there that is kind of retrofitted to fit with a 2080 Ti, which is the most powerful, most compatible graphics card you can have for NVIDIA 3D Vision, even though you could use newer graphics cards, but the compatibility won't be as high with some of those older games. So I have a dedicated PC for 3D gaming sitting right there. And this is just a little shrine to it. I got my 3D glasses from NVIDIA 3D Vision, the original box, and another pair of glasses in here. This is the LumePad 3D that's sitting right here, which lets you watch 3D movies and play 3D games without any glasses, which is super cool. Then this is like the 2080 Ti box. It just kind of shows it off and stuff like that, along with the 3D Vision sign. We got the Govee 3D lights over there in the corner. And then this obviously got a huge upgrade this year. Before it was like very boring and plain. I decided to theme this to SpongeBob because one, I wanted this to feel retro and stuff like that. And SpongeBob is obviously retro. But also, on top of the fact that I like SpongeBob and started getting into it more and more, this kind of fit the theme because I wanted a game that was going to be incorporated into the desk to actually be a game that exists with the NVIDIA 3D Vision. Before it was a Spider-Man chair, and there was no Spider-Man games on the NVIDIA 3D Vision. So it was like, I'm sitting in a SpongeBob chair with a keyboard that doesn't even have, or a Spider-Man chair that wasn't even a game that you can play on there. So that's why I decided, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get this SpongeBob chair, and got this. And then you can see all the SpongeBob stuff that I added. Like you can see here, Bikini Bottom poster. I'm ready. Nice little shrine right there. Ghost keyboard and mouse pad, which is awesome. As you can see there, we got a custom controller from the Xbox sitting right here that somebody custom painted for me because I couldn't find any great SpongeBob controllers. So this thing is awesome. I got, of course, this SpongeBob chair. And this is awesome because, like I said, there is actual SpongeBob games that you can play, like Bikini Bottom Rehydrated and some of the other ones that came out lately that you can actually play in 3D on this machine, so it fits the vibe. You got the little frame right there, or statue right there as well. So I think this area looks really, really good being in the retro room with the SpongeBob theme and actually having a game that you could play on the 3D. Now moving on over here, of course, we have this TV right here. And the main reason that this TV is here is for the usual suspect of the Kinect and the PlayStation Eye being right there. And like I said, I also play Step Mania right there, as you can see with DDR. But again, the main thing is that I could easily move some of this stuff out of the way from this little area that I have here for the rug and kind of spread this out. And then I can go ahead and play some Kinect games sitting right here, or some PlayStation Eye games, things that require a little bit more room. Sometimes we play Rock Band here. We got the Rock Band guitar depending on if we want to play down here or on the projector upstairs. We got all that ready to go. DJ Hero we have over here as well. So a lot of cool stuff to get played on this TV for sure. And sometimes I'm just watching YouTube on it, obviously, depending on what's going on in this room. But the main thing that got the biggest change this year, and I did a full video on this, I'm not going to go in detail of everything because I did a full 90s or updated 90s toy collection that goes through all of this in detail, is of course this 90s wall that I have over here. Like I said before, this is an area that was always driving me crazy because I didn't have any shelves that you see here right now. All this stuff was just on the floor in an organized way, as I would have liked to say back in the day. But I couldn't really find any shelves that really worked on here because I couldn't have them shelves to be that big because I didn't want them to stick out that much. And also I wanted them to kind of match the theme until I finally found these green shelves on Wayfair and these orange shelves, and I was like, oh, these are perfect. And then I painted these top ones that used to be black to green to kind of match the bottom one. So now basically what we have here is the middle is Nickelodeon related stuff, hence the Nickelodeon sign right there at the top, and then the green shells for the slime. Boom, that's all Nickelodeon. And then on the left we have toys, and then on the right we have anything TV related. So things are finally nicely organized into 3 separate sections, where before everything was just kind of all over the place. The TV was on the floor, which means I had to like bend down to watch stuff, and now they're actually sitting on a desk. So this is 10 times better than it was before, and I'm really happy to finally showcase this. And not only does it look better with these new shelves, but I also added a lot of new things to this area as well, from just different collectibles that I found to kind of spruce up the 90s area that I didn't have before. So I'm gonna just highlight some of the things that we have on here. Of course, my boy the Turtles guy, unfortunately, is kind of hiding because he doesn't have a perfect spot anymore, but you can kind of see his face from the side right there, kind of covered. If it wasn't for the Sonos, the TV wouldn't be covering him, but the Sonos soundbar is covering him. But you could still see him. You got the board games here in the corner, 90s board games. You got things like Scene at the Game of Life and stuff. And again, this corner here is my toys area. So you got the nice Toys R Us sign. You got the KB Toys sign. You got some Tamagotchis on the wall. I will never grow up. Perfect sign for being in this area. You got the Duncan Yo-Yo. You got a bunch of different things. And one of the things that I always tell people is everything on this shelf is meant to be played with and meant to be used, and also works. That's the big thing with me. I don't like having things that don't work. If I find out one of these things died on me the last time and now no longer work, I try to typically replace it, because I want things here for people to not just me be able to use, if it's me, or other people who come over to be able to use. So yes, this Talkboy works. You can record on it. The Talkboy pen works as well. Anything that's supposed to work does work. Furby there works. The Sabiko there back in the corner. This book all here works. All of this. So I got the Beanie Baby sitting right here. I had the original one that ended the whole entire thing. That's the last one that came out, the end. And then we have the original one, which is this puppy right here, which is super cool. And then my birthday one sitting right there as well. And then just a bunch of different stuff on different shelves here. The Magic 8 Ball, some of these handhelds that people remember from back in the day. Pogs, a big thing from the 90s. Ghostbusters books, the Hit Clip sitting down there. This really popular Nerf ball, and this really popular RC car as well is sitting there. So again, just a bunch of toys from the 90s that I kind of grew up with all sitting there. And then we got some 90s board games there sitting in the middle. And then we come to the center area, which is the Nickelodeon area. I love that Nickelodeon splat sign. I do keep some stuff on the top too as well. Got some CDs back there that I missed, and then Video Now up there, and just a nice Nickelodeon postcard collection that's really rare. A couple of other Nickelodeon things that are really cool up there. But yeah, really, really happy again with all of this stuff. So this Nickelodeon area, as you can see here, the first shelf here, we have a bunch of different cool stuff. We got this Nickelodeon slime bucket that looks like it's actually pouring slime on the floor, which is super cool that you can see right there. It looks like it's like hanging in the air. A bunch of things from like Kenan and Kel, Rocko's Modern Life, Double Dare books, Hey Arnold, a flashlight that is from the Midnight Society, which is awesome, from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Things here in the middle, we have things like Ninja Turtles, just a bunch of different things, pins from different things like Double Dare. We got the original Cynthia's doll. I love the 90s. The Rocket Power Shore Shack beer thing. We got a Snick camera cover. Love Snick. Over here, we got like a Nickelodeon Guts aggro crag right there. Pete and Pete, Nickelodeon Guts. We got that from Hey Arnold there, the actual card. This is Sabrina the Teenage Witch that's signed directly to me. We got this Nick box right here as well, a little Bluetooth speaker that's really cool. Ninja Turtles, Rugrats, and Snick VHS from a bunch of different things. A bunch of different cool stuff here. Right here, this is like a little DVD player that scrolls through a bunch of 90s commercials, 90s TV shows, and 2000s that I made myself. Nice chalkboard back there. This is one of my favorite things in the collection here. This is a signed Kids' Choice Awards from a bunch of different Kids' Choice Award members from 2000, like Amanda Bynes, like Nickelback, like Kid Rock, Keenan and Kel. So many people who signed this, and you can see Amanda Bynes from all that sitting right there. Nickelback is sitting right there in the corner. This is somebody who worked at Nickelodeon that handed this to me. You got Joey from Backstreet Boys. You got the Hanson brothers right there. So many people who signed this thing. It's freaking awesome. Another All That signature right there. So super, super cool stuff to have that shirt in the collection. And then here is a bunch of just Nickelodeon stuff. Like I talked about, we got the Nickelodeon poster. We got these little TV talkers that I've done a video on. You got the Nickelodeon Blaster series there. This is the one that you can play cassette and FM radio, and both of those still work. You got a CD player from SpongeBob, the Turtles, to watch my VHS and DVDs. You got a DVD player right there, which is super awesome. So I can watch all these DVDs that I have in the collection, along with like these TV things that you used to plug into the AV. That's the Turtles one, but I have a bunch of other ones. You have the Nickelodeon one with the game key card sitting back there that you can kind of play and connect to the TV. I know a lot of us remember connecting those to the TV, even though most of the games were terrible. Nickelodeon like CD that I play on there that has a bunch of different theme songs from all the different TV shows. We got the Nickelodeon, again from Blaster series, the telephone one that does this when you hit it. Nickelodeon. We got a bunch of Nickelodeon cards back there. We got a bunch of different DVDs from Kids' Choice Awards, from Blue's Clues back there. Bunch of different things like that. Even more DVDs back here from Double Dare, Alex Mack. Some of these DVDs I had to make myself because they just don't exist enough to buy them. For example, we got this one right here. I can't even find all the episodes for it. The Journey of Alan Strange. I love that TV show. I remember watching it as a kid. Cousin Skeeter. There's some shows that like you can't even find all the episodes online because they're lost media, which is unfortunate. We got the Video Now player. Some favorite Nickelodeon video games like Nicktoons Racing and Kart Racing, board games right there. That Rugrats was given to the employees when you work there for a year at Nickelodeon, which is awesome. Still have the original box for it. A couple of PlayStation games. Got some Switch games back there. The SpongeBob Complete Series, Kids' Choice Awards, and a bunch of Nickelodeon magazines are sitting back there. Love the Kids' Choice Awards, and the Nickelodeon magazine was one of the things I always wanted as a kid that I never had, so I keep collecting them. If anybody has Nickelodeon magazines that they want to get rid of, reach out to me. This is signed by Rosie O'Donnell. And then a bunch of other classic board games like the Pokemon Master Trainer set and Mystery Mansion that I used to play back in the day. And again, this section here is all about TV and movies that were from the 90s and 2000s, and some autographs that I have here. So I have a Blockbuster sign along with my membership card right here. We got a bunch of different signatures here from Step by Step. Allie signed that right there. We got Jumanji, Pete signed this. Red Ranger signed this. Bethany from One Tree Hill signed this one, and she signed this one as well from One Tree Hill. Just a couple of stickers here, like just tap it in from Happy Gilmore one time at band camp, sitting right there. A bunch of different trading cards from different TV shows and movies and stuff, like The Growing Pains, Saved by the Bell, Back to the Future, Beetlejuice. These are all trading cards. The Nick Jr. packs, the college years, Power Rangers, all that stuff. And then we got the nice little Blockbuster, Be Kind, Please Rewind, with two VHS right next to it. And this VHS actually has a Blockbuster logo on it, which is cool. Happy Gilmore and Mary-Kate and Ashley. Happy Gilmore being one of my favorite movies of all time, and Mary-Kate and Ashley just being a really iconic thing that we all watched growing up. And then just a bunch of stuff from the movies, like Cory, or TV shows, like Boy Meets World is my favorite TV show of all time. We got Cory and Topanga right there, along with some of the quotes. We got a sign from Cory, like manuscript of the first episode. We got the Power Rangers complete DVD set back there. We got a little Pokemon shelf with a trading card game, some booster packs, a complete DVD collection, my Pokemon cards back there. Beckett Pokemon Collector magazine sitting back there. This has a bunch of mishmash stuff from like Smallville, Hannah Montana, High School Musical, all that kinds of stuff from the 2000s. And then we got like an iCarly. Disney, we got the iCarly like thing that they always hit on the TV show sitting right there. We got Family Guy, Saved by the Bell Pop. We got a whole entire Disney Adventures magazine sitting back there. Have a bunch of those. Don't have a lot of Nickelodeon magazine, but I have a shit ton of Disney Adventures thanks to somebody at work who gave that to me. We got Friends represented over here. We got a bunch of other Video Now cassettes back there sitting there that I play on my Video Now player. We got DuckTales sitting back there. Another Power Rangers like cards that showcase all the TV shows and movies, and the Jumanji board game. And then we finish it off with all my comic books that we have on here. We have the Nintendo Power magazine. We have some Pokemon magazines. We got actual comic book magazines, and then on this side it kind of faces the PC. We got like Yahoo magazine from the PC era, PC Gamer, Ultimate Retro Gamer magazine, J14, and stuff like that are all from like the 90s or PC related magazines. So yeah, there is a lot of cool changes that happen in this room, but that pretty much encompasses everything that I wanted to talk about that's in this room, all the changes that we did and everything in here. Let me go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts. All right, guys, thank you guys for watching my updated retro game room tour for 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed the room and all of the different changes that happened this year. Like I said, I didn't think this room would ever change that much, but actually thinking back on it, there's a lot of things that got improved in this room. Obviously, the big thing is this retro 90s wall that, you know, looks 10 times better than it did before, as opposed to all the toys just being all over the floor. Finally found shelves that make sense, painted the top shelves. That I'm really, really happy with, and I'm always excited to showcase that to people when they come over who have been here for a while and really see how much better that area actually is, and even more usable because of the TV not being on the floor and all that stuff. So really happy with that. Obviously made a little bit of improvements here with the retro PC behind me here that we talked about. We updated the Super Checks machine to be current and plays so much better and much more fun to play, and doing some mods to that as we did in some of the videos. And we'll be doing a couple more mods that I'll be showcasing, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. We added the new SpongeBob area with the 3D gaming PC, upgraded the racing cabinet and all that stuff. So a lot of good changes in this room that really elevated it, and it's now in a very, very good place of really somebody walking into this room and really feeling nostalgic for whatever they're nostalgic for, whether it be the 90s and 2000s, whether it be toys, whether it be board games, whether it be retro video games, whether it be retro PC gaming, whether it be 3D gaming, whatever the case may be, we have that all covered in this room. So if you guys have any questions about anything in this room, as always, guys, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.